The Amityville Horror, a detailed account of a true American nightmare. In the small suburban town of Amityville, New York, a Dutch colonial-style house located at 112 Ocean Avenue became the epicenter of one of America's most infamous and controversial haunted house stories. This tale is a chilling combination of true crime and supernatural phenomena, and it has gripped the imagination of people worldwide for decades. Below is a detailed recounting of the events that led to the legend of the Amityville Horror. On November 13, 1974, a horrific crime shook the quiet community of Amityville. Ronald DeFeo Jr., a 23-year-old local resident, murdered 6 members of his own family in cold blood while they slept. His parents, Ronald Sr. and Louise DeFeo, and his 4 siblings, Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John Matthew, were all found dead in their beds. Each victim was shot with a high-powered rifle, and disturbingly, the killings appeared to have occurred without any signs of struggle. Even more puzzling, despite the loud noise of the gunshots, neighbors reported hearing nothing unusual that night. Ronald initially claimed that the murders were committed by a mob hitman, but his story quickly fell apart under police scrutiny. Eventually, he confessed, stating that he was driven to commit the crime by voices he heard in the house. Ronald was convicted on 6 counts of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. The motive for his actions remains a subject of speculation, but his claims of hearing voices would later play a key role in the house's supernatural reputation. Just over a year after the DeFeo murders, the house at 112 Ocean Avenue was put up for sale. Despite its tragic history, George and Kathy Lutz saw it as an opportunity to purchase their dream home at a bargain price. The couple bought the property for $80,000 and moved in with Kathy's 3 children from a previous marriage: Daniel, Christopher, and Melissa. The house, with its 6 bedrooms, swimming pool, and boathouse, seemed like a perfect place to start anew. However, the family's excitement was short-lived. From the moment they moved in, they began experiencing strange and unsettling phenomena that escalated over the course of their 28-day stay. The Lutzes claimed that the house was plagued by a malevolent supernatural force, which eventually drove them to flee in terror. One of the first signs that something was amiss were the strange odors that permeated the house. The Lutzes described a foul, sour smell that seemed to move from room to room with no discernible source. Additionally, cold spots appeared in certain areas of the house, even when the heating system was functioning properly. Although it was the middle of winter, the Lutzes noticed an unusual number of flies congregating in the sewing room. George and Kathy would repeatedly swat them away, but the flies would reappear almost immediately, defying logical explanation. As time went on, the phenomena became more pronounced. Doors would slam shut on their own, and windows would open and close without anyone touching them. At night, the family reported hearing disembodied voices, footsteps, and other unexplained noises that seemed to emanate from the walls. One of the most alarming incidents involved the discovery of green, gelatinous slime oozing from the walls and keyholes. Despite thorough cleaning, the substance would return, further unnerving the family. George Lutz seemed to be particularly affected by the house's dark energy. He began waking up at exactly 3:15 a.m. every night, the approximate time of the DeFeo murders. George also developed an obsessive attachment to the house's basement, where he would spend hours stoking the fireplace, complaining of an unbearable chill despite the warmth of the fire. His behavior became increasingly erratic. He would snap at Kathy and the children for minor infractions, and he claimed to hear strange sounds coming from the boathouse late at night. Kathy, too, began experiencing disturbing phenomena, including vivid nightmares about the murders and waking up to find unexplained welts on her body. The Lutz family reported encountering ghostly apparitions and other supernatural entities. One night, George saw glowing red eyes staring at him through a window. Upon investigating, he found no trace of an intruder, but remained deeply shaken. The children also claimed to have seen shadowy figures and heard voices whispering their names. Melissa, the youngest child, developed an imaginary friend she called Jody, who she described as a pig-like creature with glowing red eyes. When George and Kathy confronted Melissa about her descriptions, they were horrified to discover that her accounts matched George's earlier sightings. The events came to a head during the Lutz's final night in the house. George and Kathy later described the atmosphere as being thick with an overwhelming sense of malevolence. They claimed to hear loud banging noises throughout the house, as if something was trying to break through the walls. Beds reportedly levitated off the floor, and unseen forces physically grabbed family members. Kathy said she felt an invisible entity holding her down in bed, while George described seeing his wife momentarily transform into an old hag with wrinkled, sagging skin. The family fled the house in the middle of the night, leaving behind all their belongings. They refused to return, even to retrieve their possessions, and instead sought refuge with friends and family. After leaving the house, the Lutz family's story quickly gained national attention. They collaborated with author Jay Anson to publish The Amityville Horror, a true story in 1977. The book became a bestseller, and its success spawned a long-running film franchise. However, the Lutz's claims also attracted significant skepticism and controversy. Many critics accused the Lutz family of fabricating the story for financial gain. Ronald DeFeo Jr.'s defense attorney, William Weber, alleged that he and the Lutzes had concocted the haunting story over several bottles of wine in an effort to profit from the house's tragic history. Despite these accusations, George and Kathy maintained that their experiences were genuine. Paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren visited the house and concluded that it was indeed haunted by a powerful demonic presence. They claimed to have captured photographic evidence of ghostly entities, including a famous image of a young boy peering out from a doorway. The house at 112 Ocean Avenue has since changed owners multiple times, and none of the subsequent residents have reported any paranormal activity. In an effort to deter tourists and thrill seekers, the address was changed and the iconic "I like" windows were remodeled. While debates about the authenticity of the Lutz's story continue, the legend of the Amityville Horror remains a compelling tale of tragedy, fear, and the unknown. It serves as a reminder of how deeply the human psyche is drawn to stories of the supernatural, even when they blur the lines between fact and fiction. Whether you believe in the Lutz family's account or view it as an elaborate hoax, the story of the Amityville Horror endures as one of the most famous haunted house tales in American history. It is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can reside within the walls of a home and the lasting impact of a place steeped in tragedy. The Winchester Mystery House, a tale of tragedy, superstition, and architectural oddities. In San Jose, California, nestled among modern urban developments, stands a house unlike any other in the world. Known as the Winchester Mystery House, this sprawling Victorian mansion is a labyrinth of architectural anomalies, hidden passages, and eccentric design choices. Built over the course of 38 years, the house reflects the peculiar mind of its owner, Sarah Winchester, and the tragic circumstances that led to its creation. Below is a detailed recounting of the story behind this mysterious structure. Sarah Purdie Winchester was born in 1839 to a well-to-do family in New Haven, Connecticut. Known for her charm and intelligence, Sarah married William Wirt Winchester in 1862. William was the heir to the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, which produced the Winchester rifle, a revolutionary firearm that earned the nickname the gun that won the West. The couple seemed poised for a life of wealth and happiness, but tragedy struck early. In 1866, Sarah and William's only child, Annie, died just weeks after birth from a rare condition called marasmus, leaving Sarah devastated. Further heartache followed in 1881 when William succumbed to tuberculosis, leaving Sarah a widow. She inherited a vast fortune, including over $20 million, equivalent to more than $500 million today, and a 50% stake in the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, which provided her with an income of $1,000 a day. Despite her immense wealth, Sarah was consumed by grief and guilt. She reportedly became convinced that her family's misfortunes were a result of the countless deaths caused by the Winchester rifle. Seeking solace, Sarah turned to spiritualism, a popular movement of the time. According to legend, Sarah sought guidance from a Boston medium who claimed to channel the spirit of William Winchester. The medium told Sarah that her family was cursed by the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles and that these vengeful souls would haunt her unless she took specific action. To appease the spirits, she was advised to move west and build a house. Not just any house, but one that would never be completed. Continuous construction, the medium claimed, would confuse the spirits and protect Sarah from harm. Taking the medium's advice to heart, Sarah sold her home in New Haven and moved to San Jose, California in 1884. There, she purchased an unfinished farmhouse and began a building project that would consume the rest of her life. For 38 years, Sarah oversaw the construction of her mansion, employing a team of carpenters who worked around the clock. Without an architect or a master plan, the house expanded haphazardly, resulting in a maze-like structure filled with bizarre and impractical features. The Winchester Mystery House is renowned for its peculiar design. Among its most notable features are asterisk staircases to nowhere. Some staircases lead directly into ceilings or end abruptly at walls. Asterisk doors to oblivion. One door opens to reveal a 2-story drop into the garden below, while others lead to blank walls. Asterisk windows inside the house. Certain windows look into other rooms instead of the outdoors. Asterisk secret passages. Hidden corridors and trapdoors are scattered throughout the mansion, possibly designed to allow Sarah to move undetected. Asterisk the seance room. Sarah reportedly used this room to communicate with spirits and receive guidance on her construction plans. The mansion eventually grew to include 24,000 square feet, 160 rooms, 10,000 windows, 2,000 doors, 47 fireplaces, 40 staircases, 17 chimneys, and 6 kitchens. Sarah spared no expense, incorporating lavish details like hand-inlaid parquet floors, Tiffany stained glass windows, and imported crystal chandeliers. However, the design was also riddled with inconsistencies. Rooms were constructed and later torn down or sealed off entirely. Some speculate that these changes were meant to confuse the spirits, while others believe they were the result of Sarah's indecision or paranoia. Sarah Winchester lived a reclusive life, rarely leaving her home and interacting only with her staff and a few close friends. She was known to wear a black mourning dress at all times, a reflection of her perpetual grief. Despite her wealth, Sarah was deeply superstitious and insisted on specific rituals to protect herself from the spirits she believed haunted her. One of her most peculiar habits was her nightly seance. It is said that she would retreat to her seance room at midnight to consult the spirits for guidance on her construction plans. She reportedly used a planchette board and a bell to summon and dismiss the spirits. In 1906, the San Francisco earthquake caused significant damage to the Winchester Mystery House. Portions of the mansion, including the 7-story tower, were destroyed. Sarah, believing the spirits were angry, had many of the damaged sections sealed off rather than repaired. The earthquake left parts of the house permanently inaccessible, further adding to its labyrinthine nature. Sarah Winchester passed away in 1922 at the age of 83. At the time of her death, construction on the house ceased immediately, leaving behind an unfinished maze of rooms and hallways. In her will, Sarah left her vast fortune to her niece and her favorite charities, but made no specific mention of the mansion. Her belongings were removed and auctioned off, while the house itself was eventually sold to investors. Today, the Winchester Mystery House is a popular tourist attraction, drawing visitors from around the world who are fascinated by its history and architectural oddities. The mansion has also become a hub for paranormal enthusiasts, with many claiming it is haunted by Sarah Winchester's restless spirit and the souls of those killed by Winchester rifles. Visitors and staff have reported strange occurrences, such as disembodied voices, unexplained footsteps, and the sudden movement of objects. The house's eerie atmosphere, combined with its maze-like layout, has cemented its reputation as one of America's most haunted places. The story of the Winchester Mystery House is shrouded in mystery, and much of what is known about Sarah Winchester's motives comes from legend rather than documented fact. Some historians argue that Sarah's eccentric behavior and the house's unusual design were the result of grief and loneliness rather than spiritual beliefs. Others suggest that Sarah's endless construction was simply a way to cope with her loss and to provide employment for local workers during difficult economic times. Regardless of the true reasons behind its construction, the Winchester Mystery House stands as a testament to Sarah Winchester's unique legacy. It is a place where tragedy, superstition, and architectural ingenuity intersect, offering visitors a glimpse into the mind of a woman who turned her grief into an enduring mystery. The Winchester Mystery House is more than just a building. It is a story of love, loss, and the lengths to which one woman went to find peace. Whether viewed as a haunted mansion or an architectural curiosity, it continues to captivate and intrigue those who step through its many doors. Sarah Winchester's life and the house she left behind remind us of the complexities of human emotion and the enduring power of stories to spark our imagination. The true story of Annabelle, a haunted doll's malevolent legacy. The name Annabelle has become synonymous with fear, thanks to the cinematic universe of the Conjuring series. However, the real story of Annabelle is even more unsettling than the fictionalized accounts. At the center of this tale is a seemingly innocent-looking Raggedy Ann doll, but its history is steeped in malevolence and mystery. Below is a detailed recounting of Annabelle's story, as documented by renowned paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. In 1970, a young nursing student named Donna received a Raggedy Ann doll as a gift from her mother. The doll was unassuming, with its iconic red yarn hair, triangular nose, and perpetual stitch smile. Donna, who lived in a small apartment with her roommate Angie, placed the doll on her bed as a decorative item, thinking little of it at first. Shortly after Annabelle's arrival, strange occurrences began to unfold. The doll seemed to move on its own. Donna and Angie would leave the doll in one position, only to find it in a completely different spot hours later. Initially, they dismissed these incidents as their imaginations or mere coincidences, but the movements became increasingly deliberate. Sometimes Annabelle's arms would be crossed, or she would be found standing upright despite being left seated. The strange movements escalated when Donna and Angie began discovering handwritten notes around their apartment. The notes, scrawled on parchment paper, read cryptic phrases like "help me" and "help Lou." This was perplexing because neither Donna nor Angie kept parchment paper in their home. Where the paper came from and how the notes were written remained a mystery. One particularly chilling moment occurred when Donna came home to find the doll with what appeared to be blood or a red liquid on its hands and chest. This development terrified the young women and prompted them to seek answers. Desperate for an explanation, Donna and Angie contacted a medium to perform a seance. During the session, the medium claimed to communicate with the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. According to the medium, Annabelle had died tragically in the area where Donna's apartment was now located. The spirit allegedly felt comforted by Donna and Angie's presence and wanted to stay with them, inhabiting the doll as a vessel. Moved by the spirit's tragic story, Donna and Angie decided to allow Annabelle to stay. They treated the doll with care, seeing it as a benign and innocent presence. However, this decision would prove to be a grave mistake. Lou, a friend of Donna and Angie, was skeptical of the doll and felt uneasy around it from the start. He believed that something malevolent was at work and urged Donna to get rid of it. However, his warnings went unheeded. One night, Lou experienced a vivid and terrifying dream in which he felt paralyzed and saw Annabelle crawling up his leg, moving toward his chest, and attempting to strangle him. He awoke gasping for air, drenched in sweat, and convinced that the doll was responsible. In another chilling incident, Lou and Angie were studying maps for an upcoming trip when they heard rustling noises coming from Donna's bedroom. Thinking it was an intruder, Lou entered the room to investigate, but found it empty, except for Annabelle, lying on the floor. As he approached the doll, he felt a sudden, searing pain in his chest. When he looked down, he discovered bloody claw-like scratches running across his torso. The wounds healed quickly, but the experience left him deeply shaken. Frightened and desperate, Donna finally sought help from Ed and Lorraine Warren, a husband and wife team of paranormal investigators. The Warrens were known for their expertise in cases involving demonic activity, and they agreed to examine Annabelle. Upon investigating, the Warrens concluded that the doll was not inhabited by the spirit of a young girl. Instead, it was being manipulated by an inhuman demonic entity. According to the Warrens, the medium's story about Annabelle Higgins was a deception crafted by the demon to gain the trust of Donna and Angie. Once invited in, the entity's true intentions became clear. It sought to possess one of the apartment's inhabitants or cause severe harm. The Warrens explained that the doll itself was not possessed, but was being used as a conduit for the demon. They warned that the entity's escalating behavior, from moving the doll to leaving notes to physically attacking Lou, was a prelude to a potential tragedy. To mitigate the threat, the Warrens enlisted the help of a Catholic priest to perform an exorcism on the apartment. The ritual cleansed the space of the malevolent presence, but the Warrens decided it was too dangerous to leave the doll in Donna's possession. They took Annabelle with them, placing it in their care. On the drive home, the Warrens claimed that their car's brakes repeatedly failed, and the vehicle swerved uncontrollably. Lorraine later stated that she felt a dark, oppressive energy emanating from the doll during the journey. To ensure their safety, Ed stopped the car and doused Annabelle with holy water, after which the disturbances subsided. Once back at their home in Monroe, Connecticut, the Warrens placed Annabelle in their occult museum, a collection of haunted and cursed objects they had accumulated over their careers. To prevent further incidents, the doll was secured inside a specially constructed glass case inscribed with the words "Warning, positively do not open." A priest regularly blessed the museum to keep its dark energies at bay. Despite these precautions, Annabelle's sinister reputation persisted. Visitors to the museum reported feeling uneasy around the doll, and some claimed to experience strange phenomena after seeing it. One notable story involved a young man who mocked Annabelle during a visit. On his way home, he lost control of his motorcycle and died in a tragic accident. Annabelle's story has captivated audiences worldwide, inspiring books, documentaries, and a successful series of horror films. While the cinematic version of Annabelle differs significantly from the real-life Raggedy Ann doll, the essence of the story, a cursed object imbued with malevolent energy, remains the same. For skeptics, Annabelle's tale is a fascinating example of how folklore and fear can amplify ordinary events into legendary status. For believers, it serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of inviting unknown forces into one's life. The true story of Annabelle is one of fear, deception, and the thin line between the seen and unseen. Whether viewed as a case of paranormal activity or an elaborate hoax, Annabelle continues to intrigue and terrify, standing as a testament to humanity's enduring fascination with the supernatural. As the Warrens often warned, the world is filled with dark forces beyond our comprehension, and it is better to tread carefully than to invite them into our lives. The Lizzie Borden Case, a tale of murder, mystery, and intrigue. On a hot summer morning in 1892, the tranquil town of Fall River, Massachusetts, became the epicenter of one of the most infamous murder cases in American history. The gruesome killings of Andrew and Abby Borden shocked the nation, not only because of the brutal nature of the crime, but also because the prime suspect was Andrew's youngest daughter, Lizzie Borden. Over a century later, the story remains a subject of fascination, controversy, and speculation. The Borden family was a well-known and affluent household in Fall River. Andrew Borden, a successful businessman, was known for his frugality and stern demeanor. His second wife, Abby, managed the household, while Lizzie and her older sister, Emma, lived with their father and stepmother well into adulthood. Despite their wealth, the Borden's home lacked modern conveniences, such as indoor plumbing and electricity, which were common in upper-class homes of the time. The relationships within the household were strained. Lizzie and Emma reportedly had a contentious relationship with their stepmother, whom they referred to as Mrs. Borden rather than Mother. They believed Abby had married Andrew for his money and resented her perceived favoritism toward her own family. Tensions reached a boiling point when Andrew gave a house to Abby's relatives, fueling Lizzie and Emma's animosity. On the morning of August 4th, 1892, the Borden household began its day as usual. Bridget Sullivan, the family's maid, was tasked with her regular chores, while Andrew and Abby prepared for the day. Lizzie and Emma were home, though Emma was away visiting friends at the time of the murders. At around 9 a.m., Abby went upstairs to the guest room to tidy up. There, she was struck 19 times with a hatchet-like weapon, killing her instantly. Her body was later found face down on the floor. Andrew Borden returned home around 10:30 a.m. after a morning walk. Exhausted from the heat, he lay down on the sofa in the sitting room to rest. Shortly thereafter, he was attacked with the same weapon, receiving 11 blows to the face. The force of the strikes left him unrecognizable. Lizzie claimed to have discovered her father's body when she returned from the barn. She alerted Bridget, who was upstairs resting, and asked her to fetch a doctor. When the police arrived, they found Abby's body upstairs, confirming that both murders had occurred within a short span of time. Suspicion quickly fell on Lizzie Borden due to several inconsistencies in her statements and her peculiar behavior during the investigation. She claimed she had been in the barn looking for fishing sinkers when her father was killed, yet there was no evidence to support her story. Additionally, she did not appear visibly upset, which struck investigators as unusual. Several key pieces of evidence pointed to Lizzie. 1. Burned dress. A few days after the murders, Lizzie was seen burning a dress. She claimed it was stained with paint, but investigators suspected it might have been the clothing she wore during the murders. 2. Hatchet in the basement. Police found a hatchet with a broken handle in the Borden basement. While it appeared to be the murder weapon, no definitive proof linked it to Lizzie. 3. Lack of forced entry. There were no signs of forced entry into the house, suggesting that the killer was someone with access to the home. 4. Tense relationships. Lizzie's strained relationship with her stepmother and her father's frugality were seen as possible motives. Lizzie stood to inherit a substantial fortune if her father and stepmother were out of the picture. Despite the circumstantial evidence, there was no direct proof tying Lizzie to the crime. Fall River's small-town atmosphere, combined with the sensational nature of the case, led to widespread public speculation and media frenzy. Lizzie Borden's trial began on June 5, 1893, and it was one of the first cases in the United States to be widely covered by the press. The courtroom was packed with spectators eager to witness the proceedings. Lizzie's defense was led by a team of skilled lawyers, including former Massachusetts Governor George Robinson. The prosecution argued that Lizzie's resentment toward her stepmother and desire for financial independence were motives for the murders. They highlighted the burned dress and the hatchet as evidence, as well as Lizzie's inconsistent testimony. However, the defense countered by emphasizing the lack of physical evidence linking Lizzie to the crime. They also pointed out that it would have been nearly impossible for Lizzie to commit such brutal murders without being covered in blood, yet no such evidence was found on her person. A key moment in the trial was Lizzie's composure. She remained calm and poised throughout, which endeared her to the jury and the public. Additionally, societal norms of the time made it difficult for many to believe that a woman from an affluent family could commit such a heinous act. After deliberating for less than 2 hours, the jury returned a verdict of not guilty. Lizzie was acquitted of all charges, but the court of public opinion remained divided. Some believed in her innocence, while others were convinced she had gotten away with murder. Following her acquittal, Lizzie Borden's life was far from peaceful. The stigma of the murders lingered, and she was ostracized by much of the Fall River community. Lizzie and Emma inherited their father's fortune, which allowed them to move into a grand home they called Maplecroft in a more affluent part of town. Despite her wealth, Lizzie lived a reclusive life. She changed her name to Lisbeth and avoided the public eye. Her relationship with Emma also deteriorated, and the sisters eventually became estranged. Lizzie lived out the rest of her days in relative solitude, passing away in 1927 at the age of 66. The Lizzie Borden case has remained a subject of fascination for over a century, with numerous books, plays, and films exploring the mystery. The lack of conclusive evidence has fueled endless speculation about what really happened on that fateful day. Several alternative theories have been proposed. 1. An unknown intruder. Some believe that an unknown assailant entered the Borden home and committed the murders. However, the absence of forced entry and the timing of the killings make this theory unlikely. 2. Bridget Sullivan. The family's maid, Bridget, was present during the murders and had a contentious relationship with the Bordens due to her workload and treatment. However, there is no evidence implicating her. 3. Emma Borden. Although Emma was out of town at the time, some theorists have speculated that she may have orchestrated the murders or been involved indirectly. 4. Lizzie's mental state. Some historians argue that Lizzie may have been suffering from a psychological condition that led her to commit the murders and later block out the memory. The Lizzie Borden case remains one of the most famous unsolved murders in American history. The Borden home, now a bed-and breakfast and museum, attracts visitors from around the world who are eager to walk in the footsteps of the infamous family. Guests can even stay in the bedrooms where the murders took place, adding an eerie dimension to their visit. Lizzie's story has also become a cultural phenomenon, inspiring the macabre nursery rhyme. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. While the rhyme exaggerates the number of blows, it underscores the gruesome nature of the crime and Lizzie's enduring infamy. The story of Lizzie Borden is a complex tapestry of family conflict, societal norms, and the enduring human fascination with crime. Whether Lizzie was a cold-blooded killer or the victim of a deeply flawed investigation, her tale continues to captivate and mystify. The truth may never be known, but the legend of Lizzie Borden endures, a chilling reminder of the dark shadows that can lurk behind even the most respectable facades. The Black Dahlia Murder, a mystery that haunts Los Angeles. In January 1947, Los Angeles was rocked by one of the most notorious and grisly unsolved murders in American history. The brutal slaying of 22-year-old Elizabeth Short, later dubbed the Black Dahlia, captured the nation's attention and left a dark stain on the City of Angels. The case remains unsolved, fueling decades of speculation, theories, and an enduring fascination with the macabre. Elizabeth Short was born on July 29, 1924 in Hyde Park, Massachusetts. Her early life was marked by hardship. Her father abandoned the family when she was a child, leaving her mother to raise Elizabeth and her siblings. Seeking a better life, Elizabeth moved to California in her late teens, where she pursued dreams of stardom in Hollywood. She became known for her striking beauty, jet black hair, and captivating smile. Despite her aspirations, Elizabeth's life in Los Angeles was far from glamorous. She struggled to find steady work and relied on friends and acquaintances for support. Elizabeth's enigmatic charm and social nature earned her many admirers, but her transient lifestyle made her vulnerable. Her last known whereabouts were on January 9, 1947, when she was seen leaving the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. On the morning of January 15, 1947, a horrifying scene greeted a passerby in the Leimert Park neighborhood of Los Angeles. Betty Berzinger, walking with her young daughter, stumbled upon what she initially thought was a discarded mannequin. Upon closer inspection, she realized it was the mutilated body of a young woman. Elizabeth Short's body had been meticulously bisected at the waist, and her remains were posed in a grotesque manner. Her face bore a ghastly smile, carved from ear to ear, and her body showed signs of torture. There was no blood at the scene, suggesting she had been killed elsewhere and her body cleaned before being dumped. The brutal nature of the crime shocked even seasoned investigators. The Los Angeles Police Department launched a massive investigation, but the case was hampered by the sensationalist media coverage that followed. Dubbed the Black Dahlia by the press, a reference to her dark hair and a popular film noir of the time, Elizabeth Short's murder became a media circus. Reporters swarmed police stations, witnesses, and even Elizabeth's acquaintances, often interfering with the investigation. Police interviewed hundreds of suspects and persons of interest. Elizabeth's transient lifestyle and extensive social circle complicated the case. Detectives uncovered a trail of acquaintances, some of whom described her as a flirtatious and ambitious young woman, while others painted her as troubled and struggling to find her place in the world. The most chilling aspect of the investigation was the numerous letters sent to the police and newspapers, purportedly from the killer. One letter, written in a mix of cut-out newspaper letters and handwriting, taunted authorities and promised to continue the spree. The killer even mailed some of Elizabeth's personal belongings, including her birth certificate, photographs, and an address book, further deepening the mystery. Over the years, dozens of suspects have been named in the Black Dahlia case, but none have been definitively linked to the crime. Below are some of the most notable. 1. Dr. George Hodel. Perhaps the most infamous suspect, Hodel was a wealthy and eccentric physician with a dark history. His son, Steve Hodel, a retired LAPD detective, later accused him of the murder in his book Black Dahlia Avenger. Steve pointed to his father's alleged ties to the art world, a fascination with surrealism, and the possibility that the mutilation mirrored the work of artist Man Ray. 2. Mark Hansen. A Hollywood nightclub owner and acquaintance of Elizabeth, Hansen was one of the last people known to have seen her alive. Some witnesses claimed Elizabeth stayed at Hansen's home on occasion, though there was insufficient evidence to link him to her death. 3. Leslie Dillon. A bellhop and aspiring writer, Dillon became a suspect after demonstrating intimate knowledge of the crime. However, his statements were inconsistent, and police lacked enough evidence to charge him. 4. Walter Bailey. A surgeon who lived near the dump site, Bailey's medical expertise and proximity to the crime scene made him a person of interest. However, no concrete evidence tied him to the murder. The Black Dahlia case became one of the first instances of true crime sensationalism in modern America. Newspapers ran lurid headlines and speculated wildly about Elizabeth's life and death. Many articles painted her as a femme fatale, exaggerating her connections to the Hollywood elite and framing her as a victim of her own ambition. This portrayal overshadowed the reality of Elizabeth's struggles and reduced her to a caricature. The public's appetite for salacious details further complicated the investigation, as false leads and hoaxes poured in, diverting attention from credible evidence. The Black Dahlia murder has inspired countless theories, books, documentaries, and films. Among the more outlandish theories are claims that Elizabeth's death was part of a larger conspiracy involving corrupt officials or secret societies. Others suggest that the crime was a love affair gone wrong, or the work of a serial killer who evaded capture. The case's enduring legacy lies in its ability to reflect the darker side of Hollywood and the American dream. Elizabeth Short, a young woman seeking fame and fortune, became a symbol of innocence lost to the predatory nature of the city. Her death also highlighted the challenges of solving crimes in an era before modern forensic techniques. Despite the passage of time, efforts to solve the Black Dahlia case continue. Advances in DNA technology have led to renewed interest, but the degradation of evidence over decades poses significant challenges. LAPD periodically revisits the case, though no breakthroughs have been announced. Steve Hodel's accusations against his father remain among the most compelling modern theories. He cites circumstantial evidence, such as recordings of George Hodel allegedly confessing to the murder, and his connections to individuals linked to other unsolved cases. While critics argue that Steve's claims lack definitive proof, his work has reignited public fascination with the case. The Black Dahlia murder is a haunting reminder of the fragility of life and the depths of human depravity. Elizabeth Short's tragic death remains unsolved, her story etched into the annals of true crime history. As time passes, the likelihood of uncovering the truth diminishes, but her memory endures as a cautionary tale and a symbol of justice unfulfilled. Whether viewed as a cold case, a Hollywood tragedy, or a grim reflection of society's obsession with crime, the Black Dahlia murder continues to captivate and horrify, ensuring that Elizabeth Short's name will never be forgotten.